Alright, let's do this nonsense.
Yes.
Sanchi. Yeah, exactly.
Sanchi.
One count, one move.
Yes.
H.
That's the one move I'm gonna do, sir.
That's the one move you're gonna do, all
Okay.
class.
Alright.
Eight. Yeah, man, I'm just doing it. All the way through.
Hey, whatever works.
I'm just messing with it. Use myself for a few minutes. All the way through. Sanchi.
Sanchi.
How's your man? Go back. How do you get to a Shiko? Yeah.
Okay.
You're ending up straight line again.
So, but I should do the regular
You
out.
should do the regular
And then just-
half move, and then similar to Siphon, where all of that happens together,
Yes.
and the same thing here. As I step out, as this starts to go, the hands go with it.
Yes. But it's a standard linear front stance that I'm just shifting one side.
That's
again.
correct.
Yes.
Straight out and go home,
Yes.
and you roll.
Yes. Sanchi.
How's your man?
I feel like I did it the wrong way.
Yeah.
I'm the wrong way. Well, it's
Okay. Yeah, no, you.
No, this- but-
You're right. Never
yeah,
mind.
yeah, okay, never mind. I forgot what
Keep
was
going.
now I remember.
This way. We'll get to that in a minute. Okay. At least the pattern is still there, you're still dorking up a lot of the details. You're right. I was just hoping to go on down.
Wait. No, I'm getting it wrong.
Locking it up, there you go. There you go. Yeah, get up to the top end of the eye. Start from the beginning, start from the beginning, get up to the top end of the eye. Take it way backwards. Okay, now, just go to the, yeah, go to that. Okay, now, just do this one way. Keep going, the whole thing. 1, 2. Okay, go back to the elbow. Okay, make the Sanshin. Now, when you step out, for some reason, like coming up the eye the first time, your Shiko is good, your back straight is where it needs to be. But when you start moving, you keep punching over throughout the entire rest of the kappa the first time you did it. So, again, make your Shiko, but still Shiko. Don't let the momentum of getting there and going away corrupt your body. So, bang, yeah, away, boom, that, good. Now, the other one. Yes, that. Now, the two sheet goes going away. Same thing here, good, keep going. Good, now, just up to the, whatever we're doing now. Okay, good. Next one, go. One, open, now go back to regular. Go back to this. There we go. Open. Okay, as far as your wrist goes. No, there's no fold there, that's fine. Yeah, you relax the shoulder, you're trying to use the shoulder to force the hand. So, slide in, uppercut. Back, okay, your left hand, chest.
Oh, good. So I should be going,
That.
good.
Uppercut, back fist. Down block, you can Now.
So the hand should be this way.
It should be down block.
Oh, the hand
And
is.
your feet together. Right. Where was it? Okay, that would be next step. Go away. Boom. One, two. Same thing here, other side. Step over. One. You step too far. You should be a right foot forward, no left foot forward.
Okay, so,
There.
I thought I had to reach over. Okay, so.
You're reaching too far. There we go. So turn. Shoot the punching here. Fine with that. Yeah. Open.
Wait, is it this hand?
Slide in, uppercut. And you get the same thing here. Your chest, back fist, down block. Good. So we're down block. Elbow, elbow. Sweep back fist.
And this, the hand like this?
Now, less of a hop, more like, you know,
So cool.
So go back to that last open. So when we're here, I'm gonna sweep, I'm gonna reach with my heel, a la Pinayanda, and slide into that, so we're not hopping.
So,
So reach with the heel, same sweep, reach with the heel. That. Good. Fade away. In. Under here. Pause. There. Now, just like Pinayanda, here's your end point for the move. The end of the
45, sir?
It's 45. Yeah, you're in exactly the right position. You're in there. Then, if we're doing it like in class, this is where you're gonna hold. And then at Yame, heel hand. Together. Move. Move. Move.
Without raising up.
Without raising up. Stop, from the top.
Right.
Adjumant.
Talk a little bit about that question that you put out there.
Bulls. Okay.
Did you more or less?
Yeah, I was just mulling it over for the past couple of days. I liked what you said. Again, I'm just kind of processing what you were saying.
We'll have to talk about
Yeah.
that because if I got the question correctly,
You did. Again, it's just mulling it over to see if I have a follow-up question. But again, you answered the question, you and Eric both answered the question the way I thought you would. It's just I'm trying to see if I have a follow-up or not with either one of us. I've just been kind of mulling it over for a couple of days.
yeah, it was a good question.
Cool.
Wish me luck, sir.
You're all right, Paul.
I don't know, he yells at me.
We ain't seen him for
I
3 or 4 days.
haven't seen you in a while.
Tell my wife and my family I love them.
I'm gonna get, yeah. Since we're doing Say Ancient again, and since Sifu Anne Marie's watching, when you were doing flamenco the other day, she thought that was hilarious. She
I know,
laughed her guts out.
So, I don't remember which part is flamenco. Is this the flamenco one?
When you were doing the,
Oh,
that was hilarious, so. All right, again, Say Ancient.
see you, Chip.
Adjumant. stuff in the eye, or do you want an
Sweat
anti-
got in my eye, so I
Sweat got
just
in your eye,
worked
okay.
through it.
Keep going. Done. Good. Again, done.
I left it again?
You're about done.
Oh, man,
It
damn, I
was-
was
it
actually
was not
concentrating
bad.
on not doing it. Because I didn't want seafood to make fun of me again.
She's gonna make fun of you again. That's all there is to it. Okay, you have the pattern, and I don't know why
It's so ugly?
it's so ugly. That's, that's exactly what, I was trying to think of a better way of saying it, but it's so ugly. So we're gonna get rid of some of the ugly. Here's the slide over to you.
Slide over there.
So I can see both of us.
Can you see me?
Yep, I can see him. Okay. We're gonna kind of work the timing a little bit with this and take some of that ugly off of it. So, with me, how's your mouth?
Well, first question, can I ask while we're going or just go first?
You're just going with me. Follow along. All right. Sun sheen here.
Is this, what I'm doing is not here, I don't know that.
Well, you are now, you kind of adjust a little bit. Before you were doing front
Straight,
face,
just
so-
straight.
Open slow. One. One. Two.
Do what, open and then down a little, like I'm pulling in?
Yep, little bit. One, two.
Oh, so this one ends with this, or is that just older style?
Personal preference is, well, back in the day,
Everything ends.
Tanchi always had us begin and end every kata with that.
This,
Over the years, as classes have gotten more time constrained, because this was back in the day where we did 3 karate classes a day. 6 days.
a day?
Yeah.
Where did you work, sir?
I was really lucky that I got off in time and had that opportunity to do that. So because we had time, we did it.
Yes.
As that dwindled to, what it is now, not good or bad, just is,
Mm.
he started taking that out because it was just time.
Yes.
It was not relevant. Some people, like Sean Eric, he likes the old way, he likes to do that way.
Yes.
I split the difference. I feel that some kata need it at the end.
Yes.
Like Ananku, it's at the beginning. Saifa is at the beginning. Naifanchi's at the beginning. So those kata are dictated, they start there.
Yes.
The ending, to me, there are just certain kata that scream, it has to be there. So like,
What is it called, sir? I've never really.
Somen, sorry.
Somen. Somen. I know that. I've heard it.
This is how it was always spelled to me, S-O-N-N-E. Don't ask me what it means, I'm trying to get a translation for it as we speak. So hopefully it will be soon coming. It's like Kendo kata. You just don't, yeah, I don't, you just don't feel right.
And ending you mean?
The
Oh,
end.
that's
So if
okay.
I'm coming off of Kendo kata and I'm here,
Mm.
it just, I'm not feeling it.
Yes.
So to me, and what we actually used to do was force it. We would come back to Yoi and then tack it on as a separate move.
Yes.
So once it started to go away, I'm like, if we're forcing that on the end, why?
So, is it for you a movement of power that finished it feels more awkward? Because this kind of movement feels like you're done now with something, so that's why you say it makes sense to, versus like a, I guess power is relative, but.
Yeah, power drill. I would say for me, it's the opposite of that. So like here at the end of Tenno Kata, bam, he's gone.
Mm.
So for me to come back and throw this motion in, I'm now on to a new person. In my opinion, pretty blown up. So I'm like, where do you want to end the kata? Either end the kata there, or end the kata with an extra move. So to me, it's just an extra move that really doesn't add anything to Tenno Kata. So here, I've got basic bunkai, I've got his head. This is knee. This, because he is still right here, has bunkai, and it feels like bunkai to me.
Believe it or not, I understand.
Oh, good. And there are just several kata, mostly the upper level white crane lineage kata, Seiyunchin, Saifa, Seipai, Sochin, those kind of things. It's just because of where the kata ends,
The proximity of the person to you.
Yes. For my interpretation of the bunkai, where the kata ends, I still have a hold of them in some way, so that this makes sense to add on. And Seiyunchin just happens to be one of them. Okay,
I
from the
did have
top.
one question if I can. I noticed that it might just be, hey, because I'm at my level, I do it quickly. When you were doing this, I'm trying to make sure I'm doing it correctly. So I was going up, down, and doing this, and then turning, but it almost looked like you were already here.
No, I was just doing it.
Oh,
I was showing you a different version of the timing for that.
it looked nicer, that's why I'm asking,
Oh.
can I do it that way? But I guess I
It's
should do it.
kind of like, I hate to compare myself to them, but it's kind of like them. We would look at them and you go, well, you went from A to B. You're telling me to go A, B, C, D. And he would smile, he would laugh, and he'd hit me, and he'd smile some more, and laugh some more, and then we'd move on.
So you actually trained with?
No, I'm talking about Hunter.
Oh.
But, stories about the other guys
Yes.
were the same. But once I got to the point where I knew enough where I could actually see what they were doing, they were doing all of these motions, it's just that the pause between them instead of 1, 2, 3, it was just smooth. Kind of thing. So that's one of the pitfalls of karate is you need to do it slow and 1 potato, 2 potato in order to figure out how to round that out and make it 1 to 10.
It's like learning the alphabet and then you put the words together.
Exactly. Exactly. Again, from the top, same thing.
See you, chick?
That's right. Yeah, man. Yeah, but when you got this from whoever you got it from, did they specifically give this to you as a strike that way?
When I watched Kiyoshi do it, that he was doing it like that, but I can't honestly say, I think I'm interpreting the motion to be that I'm pulling and doing something to someone. So I'm pulling
You are.
in and I'm hitting them. Or I'm striking behind me, like,
Okay, what is this to you?
so I feel like I could have parried or I blocked something.
Sure.
And then the hand is there, I'm holding the hand and I'm going, I'm pulling them and hitting, trying to hit very hard into their spleen or whatever, kidney, whatever it is.
Okay. And you're not wrong. You're also grappling here.
Maybe grabbing it on there right now.
If I'm doing basically the same thing that you were just talking about, if I parry this arm and I grab it and I pull him in and I start the arm lock, when I make this motion, that's when the fun stuff happens to that arm. So like a lot of things, Bunkai shifts with your reference frame. So if you start looking at Bunkai from here, it's going to be different, it could be, than if I start looking at Bunkai from here, because you're starting at a different point.
You're saying interpreting what's happening.
Interpreting what's happening.
Is
So, from here, even though we know that can be a stroke, it is most often in its basic interpretation shown as power and grappling move. So once you get all through here, boom, 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 slow that down on all three of them.
I remember that, pieces. And you can just leave me with that.
That's all right, I plan on doing that anyway.
Is it?
That's right. Keep going. Slow. Slow. Alright, go back to the last row two. As you come in here, you're doing this one, correct? Okay. Step drag with that.
So when I'm catching though, my feet are different, just don't worry about that part. Because I was going and turning and I was still in this.
That's an interpretation.
Okay, but it's not wrong.
It's not wrong. What is wrong is that.
I was doing,
No,
I was trying to.
I'm sorry. Ignore from the waist up, because that's not what I'm talking about. We have different versions from the waist up, so I'm not gonna even use my hands. What is wrong is that. What we're doing is step drag. So,
I did get that interpreted, I'm just not, obviously not doing it the way I'm thinking. I was thinking I was going,
great, do that, that's not what you were
okay, good. Well, I do know, sir, it's just I'm not doing it.
Okay, well, then do it.
Because
Okay, go back to the last northeast. From there. Okay, it should be 8-9, go back. It should be directly in line, both of these are directly in line. There we go. I go.
So do I step then when do I move my foot over and do it? Because this feels weird.
It's gonna feel weird.
So don't step though? Because I would go,
That's fine, do that.
okay.
Because now we're getting into body parameter discussions, and I'm not you, you're not me. Yes, back to that step. Just make a turn, one, open, that quick, 1, 2, back to the down, boom, good. Step away, boom. 1, 2, step over block, pause, open, pause, step in, uppercut, little pause, 1, 2, boom, boom. Step away, boom.
This is not in line, this is 45, right?
It is the Shiko that you are in right now.
Yes.
And step away, elbow, 1, watch that little, you keep wanting to make a little angle step there, make sure you're going back.
I'm not sure I'm following. So,
Come up to the first elbow. Okay, now, when you step back, you should be stepping straight back. You have a tendency to want to drift that foot that way, so you drag off the line about 6 to 8 inches.
so I need to go,
You need to go there.
this, this.
Then the hand goes, the heel goes, boom, boom. Sorry, fade away, come together, come down, make the pyramid, pause. Then, go. Yes. Exactly. Keep finish. Again, whether you add the sonne on the end of it, to me, that's perfect, because I don't think Sean James does, if I remember right. So.
But you won't say it's wrong if I,
You won't say it's wrong, because we can always have a discussion as to.
when in Rome, I'm in Rome, sir.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Exactly a good way to put it. Stuff like that is where you kind of get to play with the cop a little bit, kind of make it your own.
I do embrace, I do get what you're saying though with the, okay, I get it, they're still there, so. Is,
But again, that's an interpretation difference. If you leave it out, nobody's really gonna argue that I know of.
is,
Unless it's just one of those kind of people who like to argue. All right, again, from the top.
hey,
How'd you make? Got it. Much better on the ending.
pardon me, sir?
Much better on the ending. Just, real fine detail. As you're making this motion, you're ending up in a good place. As this comes down, for me, it's like right about eye level is when the hands start to turn. You don't wanna
Come
come
all the
down
way down
this
here.
way and then turn. So once they get to, for me, it's about eye level, they start to turn. But yeah, you definitely don't wanna end up here and then just turn.
But when you're actually starting it though, you actually start with the thumbs coming together and then.
Oh, yeah, no, you're doing the top part of it is spot on, in my opinion. It's just, don't cut, and then make it a separate motion. It's kinda-
Like everything else, a punch and everything, it all kind of goes through the whole motion.
Exactly. On the first part of that, you don't need to reach 3/4 of the way across the dojo.
Is that?
That would be fine. And it would eliminate that tendency to want to hop.
So,
That. Yeah, just like that. There's something else I wanted to comment on. Oh, I know what it is. Right there from the yoi, just make, north of you, just make a double block. Okay. Now, what I want you to think about is you blocked an arm on your thumb side. I want you to just roll with your hand like you're gonna roll your hand on top of that. That is what you're doing on those wings.
and I love that move because it's one of my favorite moves when I'm not doing it.
Well, again, for some reason, when you end up on the wings, you're turning it like almost to a shuko.
So, yeah, I was. So is it this then?
Yes.
So I literally can do all of that?
Yeah.
Good, okay.
Now, for me, I don't turn it all the way over because I don't feel that in the kata, but that's the bunkai, you're turning it over and grabbing something. So for me, I'm doing just what you're doing, but I'm kind of ending up more vertical with the palm, I guess, the palm out. That's what I am, break that. But yeah, you want to make that.
Just like Matsukaze is what you do, right?
Yeah, right, exactly, same thing. Because again, Seiyunchin is one of the white crane lineage. It's got these
So
crane hands.
White crane is still Shitoryu, or is it derived from something and then became, when you say white crane?
Oh, okay, I thought we talked about this.
You probably did.
Okay, I'm just talking out of my ears then. White crane as in Chinese white crane kung fu, white crane qigong. The Fujian province of China is, probably easier if I draw it. You got China kind of makes this big bulge right here, like Hong Kong and Taiwan and all that's down here. Up here is the Honshu Islands of Japan, Tokyo, and all of that. Okinawa sits like right here. So what would happen is the Japanese would trade with the Okinawans, and the Okinawans would trade with the Chinese. It's just the trade route through here. And the Fujian province, or not Fujian, Fujian province of China is right here. And you got the Himalayas, Nepal, India, right?
Not good at geography, I'll believe you, sir.
Okay, well, trust me, even though it's ugly, that's the way it is. We'll ignore how it got here, but the Kalari system
In India.
traveled into the Shaolin area of China, the Shaolin monks, and became Shaolin Kung Fu, and then that spread through here. It ended up in Fujian, where it became White Crane Kung Fu.
Just variations of the
Just
Shaolin
variations
monks.
of that.
Okay.
In Kung Fu, you've got the 5 animal arts, which are crane, dragon, tiger, mantis,
Yes, I remember this from the Bruce Lee.
and snake. Snake, those are the 5 main variations. And there are some other sub-variations, but they're kind of irrelevant. The kind of weird part or fun part that I like to think about is you got northern China and southern China, right? Southern China basically flat. Northern China mountainous because we start getting into Mongolia and Russia up here. The northern styles, which like Tiger is a northern style, gets into these hard stances.
Or stance type of.
Yeah, it's all very rooted, very little motion, because they're in the mountains. You get too much motion, you go off the mountain.
Right. Yes.
The southern styles.
So based on
like-
geography, really.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, if I'm on this rocky hillside and I move too much, or if I go to one leg, I'm going down the mountain. Whereas, okay, southern China, where like the crane style comes from, it's flat. That works. You know, Rohai, Matsukaze, Seiinchin, kind of thing, or the parts of Seiinchin. So the cultural exchange started between Fujian and Okinawa. Started as trade, and then, you know, the karate masters, kung fu masters would just go back and forth. So once it got to Okinawa, they started making it Okinawa. Okay, we don't like this, we'll change it to this. You know, you live on a big flat grassy plain in southern China, we live on a tiny little beachfront property in Okinawa kind of thing. So from there, Shitaru Goju, Uechiru drew very heavily on this Chinese influence, and you can see that in the kata. Other styles like Shotokan, stuff like that, really didn't come about until it made it to Japan, where they started changing it and making it Japanese. So, like, I don't know if I'm going to end up with some actual letters. So, white crane kata, or several white crane kata, Matsukaze, Saifa, Seiinchin, Rohai, Yuka Rohai, Pensho, Seisan, Seipai, Sochin, Ipai Po, even though it doesn't look like it, Super Empai, even though it doesn't look like it, you know, Hakucho is about the white crane you get on that. So, and again, that's only like half of the Shitaru syllabus. It kind of goes on from
Oh,
there.
really? So there are more than listed there.
Literally that's half. There are 67.
How many do you know, sir?
I know those and 2 or 3 auxiliary combos of the rest of the Shitaru syllabus.
And I won't ask more because we're talking, we're going to do it, but I would love to hear about the India part. I didn't know that there was.
Okay, well, we're on a history lesson, that's fine. Okay. You know who Alexander the Great is?
Yes.
The last research paper I heard, or I read, they've kind of determined that our stuff actually goes back to the Greek pancration that Alexander the Great made. So if you look at Greek, Greco-Roman wrestling, that kind of thing, before that, there was more of a mixed martial arts style from Greece, well, from Greece, Macedonia, that area. And it's still out there today, it's called pancration. Alexander the Great, as he stomped his way across the continent, eventually ended up in India, where he ended up getting his butt kicked through a whole different variety of reasons. But the latest research I read says that pancration stayed here. The Indians took and made it, Kalari is the short word. It's actually, every Indian Hindu speaker out there, please forgive me, Kalari Pataya, I think is how it's pronounced. It's about that long and got a lot of P's and Y's in it, but I think it's Kalari Pataya. Buddhism, in one form or another, also started in India with the yogis. So the yogis and the Kalari guys kind of parallel together.
But Buddhism has martial arts in it?
Coming to that part. Yep. So you may or may not have heard this guy's name, Bodhidharma. Okay. He was an Indian Buddhist monk who traveled across the Himalayas to the monastery at Shaolin. as the story goes, when he got to the monastery, the monks were doing way too much Buddhist stuff. They were just sitting around getting fat and lazy and whatever. So he came up with a series of exercises based off of the Kalari to get him into shape. And that's where Shaolin Kung Fu came from. So from Alexander the Great to the Kalari guys to Bodhidharma to Shaolin, and then as the Shaolin priests started moving out and spreading Buddhism, China was not a nice place. They needed to know how to kick ass. So they learned how to kick ass. And if I remember correctly, I want to say it was like 3 or 4 different emperors tried to conquer the Shaolin Temple. And it wasn't until Genghis Khan, I think, Kublai, that they actually did it.
I was saying Genghis Khan, I thought he was kicking everybody's butt.
Yeah. I'm trying, whichever one was first. Yeah, that's what I thought. Kublai first? Whichever one was first. I keep getting them backwards. Actually pulled it off. But from there, it spread out. And then as it spread out, it became not just the monks.
But the monks were doing it strictly for exercise, or it was to protect? They were like the army of the...
It started as a get off your fat rear end, because you're fat and lazy and whatever, and then kind of morphed into, hey, we're monks, just kind of like, regardless of what your religious beliefs are, like the Catholic Church. There's a lot of gold and treasure in every Catholic church in the world. It's the same way. So, kind of thing. So people were trying to, okay, like, hey, we need to protect ourselves. So they did that. And then as it spread out, it started to develop into various styles. Because, hey, I don't like that, I like this. Yeah, F you, okay, I'm going to go start my own thing, like everything else. And then from there, as the trade and cultural exchange between Okinawans and the Chinese, it became the precursor of our stuff. And then as more and more it got sent to Japan, the Shito-ryu in and of itself started as an Okinawan white crane style, white crane lineage style. But Shito-ryu, the word, was not coined until it went to Japan. So technically, and this is one of those internet, you want to get people riled up on the internet, is Shito-ryu Okinawan or Japanese? It's one of those kind of questions. Okay. Technically, Shito-ryu is Japanese.
So the name is Japanese, but the style is Okinawan.
The style is white crane lineage, just like Goju. Goju, as a style and as a name, was developed in Okinawa. Shito-ryu, all of its roots, all of its base, everything is in the white crane Okinawan lineage, but the term Shito-ryu was not coined until we got to Japan.
And in Japan, they do Shito-ryu.
Oh yeah, they do Shito-ryu. Well, they do Shito-ryu all over the world. And then of course, from Japan to us.
Great. Thank you.
Cool. Go ahead. Let's end with the history lesson. Thank you.
Leadership?
How'd you make? You did flat straight line again. What is this nonsense? Start over.
I did what?
You were straight in line.
Okay.
This is 45 Shiko.
Again?
Yep. the very end, and you keep what you're doing, start thinking about being able to add power to that, to the down. So you're doing
I'm
just what I
focused
want
on
you to
trying
do.
not to raise up.
Right, and that's gonna be the key. You're doing exactly what I want you to do right at the moment, which is just drop them. What I want you now to start thinking about is being able to do that with power. Back.
So I actually should go down.
Yes.
If I go down, it's okay, but just
Absolutely.
don't.
Yeah.
So I can go.
Down is where we're going. Up is not where we're going. All right, one more time. See,
Finish it.
anyway. But
Went up a little bit.
nothing's ever perfect in me. As you're doing these Murotyukis going back, yeah, think more about crossing.
Yeah, I'm trying to throw.
There you go.
Crossing?
Cross.
Like that?
Yeah, there you go. And then crossing that way.
Yeah. Can you help me see if I'm in the matrix? So, for instance,
Tell me what you're doing. You know what you're doing. You want to say it, I can see it.
well, I feel like either something could be coming and I'm sweeping this way, but if something was coming this way, I'd be raising, but I'd be striking something at the same time, or maybe the knee was coming up and I'm stopping it.
There you go. Absolutely. In its most basic format, like high punch. I'm gonna, cover,
Then,
catch the punches coming through, strike into the ribs, or pelvis, whatever you do.
See, when I think of it, I'm like, man, I'd have to be too exact to grab the hand.
Well, you're not grabbing the hand. That's why the crossing, this is covering here. So basically, you're gonna end up grabbing bicep, elbow, configuration.
I get there. I'm kind of getting it.
No, you're there. We'll start working on it some more once we get through most of this nonsense that's going on. Whatever it was, I lost it. One more time.
Yes.
Change.
Finish it?
Adjoint. Yeah, good. Never mind. Good. All right, yeah, watching you just gone over the other kind of doing that. Something I want you to start working on your own, but we'll touch on it more in class too. And this goes for all of your martial arts, not just Seiyunchin, but it's very obvious in Seiyunchin because it's an upper level concept that you haven't had for very long. And that is self-correcting your body posture when it comes to overextension or underextension. By that, how does that apply to Seiyunchin? Here, now all this is pretty good. And then you get to here. You see where I end up here? Okay. There's almost no engagement, muscular engagement, or excuse me, muscular tension in the shoulder here. You're pulling so hard to a hikite that you're actually bowing the shoulder up, and you're actually coming out of position. So this should feel very natural when you're in, and it should actually touch the roof. If you're feeling that you're pulling here, you're getting out of position.
Now, the part that I'm clear, I should ask, because this hand, should it end up below this hand, above it? So it's above it.
Again, the eternal question. I was given above slightly.
Because I was trying to make, I think that's where I was extending. I think I was trying to make it above it, and because of that, I was,
Well, three different
but I could
versions.
just lower it, I guess.
I have it, the backhand, the palm up, is slightly above the other hand, is how I was given it. But I've also seen all three in different versions of
I guess it all could work, right?
tomato, tomato. The other thing here, you're really reaching here.
You don't know.
Well, moving forward is one thing, but you're actually
I'm bending.
forcing and you're literally reaching. That one.
And this part gets me too, because I'm doing this, and then I come back, and my body feels like, man, there's no way to get my hand over here. I should really be moving this in as well, right? So I'd go,
Oh, yeah.
okay. Because I keep thinking, man, I gotta move up to,
Oh, hell no.
because there's a head here basically, and I'm doing this.
Well, there's a head here, yes, but you're doing this with his head. You're bringing the head to you. Yeah, because there's no way. Nobody's built this. So yeah, you got him by the head, but it's a push-pull thing. I'm pulling them in as I'm driving.
And then now I scoot up and turn.
You got it. Now, anything else on Seiyunchin?
Yeah, I don't know, I get good at it.
If I ever get good at it, I'll tell you.